Triple KO!
Welcome back to another episode of Triple KO. I have Maximilian here with us today. I also have Leighton, aka Mr. GuileWinQuote. Justin unfortunately couldn't make the show today, but he always says, like, I really hate missing any sort of show. So because he loves talking to Max about the technical stuff, and I nod. And he loves when I bring up my bullshit of like dank fighting game stuff. So it makes Triple KO so special. But there is someone that knows more dank fighting game stuff than me, and it is Mr. GuileWinQuote. What just dropped on your channel today? Because I might forget to ask you later when the podcast wraps up.
Yeah, today I dropped more non-fighting games that have versus modes in them, which is a topic you guys just covered. Mm-hmm. I was working on the video when you guys dropped that video, and I was like, oh man, like I can't wait to see, like I want to see if you guys were talking about the same games that I'm talking about. I was talking about Japanese dating sims and Beavis and Butthead. So you guys went into a little different direction, which I'm glad. But yeah, just dropped it. I had a lot of fun making that video. So
was there any that we had in there? I literally was about to watch your video earlier today. I didn't have the time, but was Excalibur 2097? Is that in your wheelhouse at all?
No, and yes. The one that surprised me the most was the Buffy game. Yeah? I had like zero idea about that one. So
all right, cool. So there's lots, there's some fighting game news this week, some oddities here and there, and the first one, which is a bit of an oddity, in that Hinako Shijo was announced as a character for, I believe this is the final character of the season 2 of DLC of KOF15. Is that what she's being billed as?
Yeah, she is. And, effectively E Honda has jumped into King of Fighters, or the latest King of Fighters. Everyone looks at this character and they're like, why is this little girl a sumo wrestler? What's going on? I'm like, no, that's where she's been.
I just want to say, I think SNK was real ahead of their time, because nowadays you see Capcom, you see Namco kind of turning archetypes that aren't so popular and turning them into waifus. Mm-hmm. Well, SNK did it 23 years ago. So
I think I read something that initially, like, this character, like, she debuted in 2000, I think.
Yeah, that's why I have 2000 up on the cab.
Appropriate. So that she was a designer, like, initial concepts were like, no, she's going to be like a big tough girl or be like much different than what she is, and then fans back in 2009 were like, absolutely not, has to be a waifu. And then they said, okay, at least let us keep the tape around her fingers to signify that she's a grappler. Does that sound familiar at all, or is that like a tall tale of fighting game stuff?
I'm not sure, but I believe it because it sells.
It sells, and also reminds me of Abel. Remember Abel's first design? Abel was like a little girl, like with Makoto, basically.
Yeah. She used to be like some 5'0" sort of like really scrawny character that just would throw your ass.
Yeah, she had like big blue pants and stuff. It was, kind of like another Makoto almost. And then it's just like, no, have this guy that you're not going to remember.
Ever. Yeah, the ironic part is if they brought him back, it would probably be through the vessel of a waifu. So
the soul transfer. Mm-hmm. But yeah, unfortunately not a lot of gameplay in this trailer, so this is just the teaser essentially, but at least got to see her model, I guess.
And shout outs to KOF15, now I think eclipsing something along the lines of like 60 characters. There's just an absolute metric massive roster in that game now. The last time I played it, I got to check out like the last DLC character, and I was just blown away. I was like, there's so much, and not to mention like all the extra bosses that are being added, the new bosses. Who's being added again? It's like Grizzled or something like that. Is that confirmed?
I didn't see that.
Didn't see that? Did I see something wild on Twitter?
No. That was okay. That was a meme post that
Gotcha.
Someone posted. Yeah.
Son of a bitch. I saw it at the same time as Hinako, and I was like, oh, maybe that's happening.
It was literally like 30 minutes before Hinako.
Oh, okay. Because Grizzled is the guy with like the stupid fluffy
cape
thing. Yeah. I was like, oh god, this piece of shit.
Was this a bit of the everyone trying to meme kind of what the silhouette was going to be? Was that like part of that where people were putting Grizzled in?
Not even. Someone literally just took like a Grizzled model. I don't know where it's from, because like if you scrolled by, it was like, oh wow, because I was like, oh cool, like they're adding him, but like the picture they used didn't even like match the silhouette at all or anything. It was like they just put his like model there.
I missed if Dino posted about this. I didn't see Brian Battler. Maybe he did, and I just missed it. I didn't see Brian Battler put into the silhouette. But did he? Does anyone know? Can anyone confirm if Dino did that this time around?
I didn't see Dino's, but I saw a Japanese artist draw him into the silhouette. So that's still alive.
This is a bold prediction, and many of my bold predictions are always wrong. But my bold prediction is that season 3 of KOF 15 DLC will just be American sports guys, and they'll create 2 or 3 new ones to go along with the originals.
They should just make like American sportsmen, and he's just like baseball, basketball, hockey.
He's wearing them all.
He has them all. Like he just does a little bit of everything. Like he's like a one-man band on like the Santa Monica Promenade. Just
he's got like a fencing like mask on with like 3 helmets. Yeah. That'd be sick. But yeah, like I said, just the teaser for Hinako. Like, you know, I personally have like 0 attachment to this character, like 2000, even though it's a very solid KOF. It's like, I never played it that much. I kind of played 99 more than it for whatever reason, but good for them for pulling someone pretty obscure in the grand scheme of things. Still no Shenwu though. Sadly, we will have our vigil for Shenwu to somehow appear in KOF in the future. It doesn't seem quite yet.
And I don't know if it's on here, but to throw in, we do have some other SNK news. We'll talk about this stuff later because there's even been some new things for City of the Wolves and stuff like that might be showing up.
Oh, there is? I didn't see that at all.
It's very minor. Like it's like they said a couple of things at Tokyo Game Show, and that was about it. And it's mostly like, please be excited type of stuff.
Okay, Max, there's no such thing as little news when it comes to City of the Wolves. I will devour every morsel.
I love the art. Somebody posted screenshots of it again. I'm like, I really dig the art style for that game. I cannot wait to see more of it.
So next up we have lots more modding news for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. There's a bit here that we have down for just what was it, Max? It's like we now can create actual animations, right?
Yeah. So one of the things always holding back characters from being added into Marvel 3 instead of being like, hey, just put this character into this thing. Well, for the longest time, we can't even move the model. Okay, we can't even take like new assets and add new assets to the game. So they eventually added a model importer. Somebody created and engineered an importing tool to put new character models into the game. That was about like 1.5 years ago. And then eventually, somebody added the character select thing where it's like, oh, now we can add more slots for characters. That was a huge thing holding things back because you can only replace/delete other characters and then replace them with a new one. So that got added. Somebody went in, reverse engineered the whole goddamn game to figure out how the character select screen works, added more character select slots. Now it's for animations specifically. All the animations of the game are just hobgobbled frame of this, 2 frames of that, a piece of this, like chunked together so that we can have Asura do like, his level 3. So that's not the case anymore. Now they can just take animations from other games. It's not easy. It's like the equivalent of like a mocap artist where you get motion capture information and then you got to clean it up and then it has to go to all these other cleanup artists and then it has to go to animators. So it's like that, but they got the data so they can get the character rig data from other games. And yes, already we've seen Hagar doing Bayonetta's sexy pose from Smash, and it was like, wow, that's great. Well, how the hell did you do? Because you can't even do custom animations. Like you couldn't even hand animate a character. You can essentially only take things from other characters. So already we've seen Monster Hunter, Venom, Captain Marvel, and what's the other ones? Like several others from Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. translate their direct animations into the game. Ultron, that's the one. And Ultron is just like 1-to-1. It's like, holy shit. And it's very early. Like they've had at this point 2 weeks. So all the videos that we're seeing come out from the modders directly has been wild. That, yes, if there was ever a future where people were like, oh, we'll never be able to get Jeddah, we'll never be able to get Sigma, we'll never be able to get these characters, it can actually happen now.
And like Venom was like pretty new. Venom was like in the last day or two, like people started showing footage of him, I think. Yeah,
so the Cali Kings, the guy that made Venom, and all of these, he was the impossible character. It's like, oh, we'll never be able to get Venom. But Cali Kings did it and did some crazy amalgamation thing, hobgobbled all these different animations to make that Venom look like Venom. And he translated some of all the stuff over, so his idle pose, his dashing poses, his special attack anims, his keyframes, he put them in there. And he's like, this is incredibly hard because you have to retune and retime all the attacks, all the times of which they hit, all their active frames. Like, you have to remake the whole character again. But they did it, and it's happening, man. It's crazy. Like, Venom looks legit as hell, and it's like, this is early still, and it's like, my God. Like, and I've heard that other characters like Batsu, TVC characters, they've already ripped the rigs and the animation data. So Batsu can get his anims from TVC.
Related, but not exactly the same title. I've been seeing that like other fan game, like Sega versus Capcom, that is using a lot of those models too, or
sort of
making brand new ones. Like, I don't know where their Axel model is, but that looks incredible as well. People put it in the work.
I think that the Sega versus Capcom game actually has a 3D artist that has been working on it, like a fan game, and they have like Lin Kurosawa, you know, and wide variety. That's the one that got me excited. Yeah, it's like, holy shit. So yeah, I've been retweeting their stuff every once in a while. I think a lot of that is actually original. I don't know if they're pulling things from other games. I think they're just making their own game.
Yeah, it's definitely in the TVC art style for sure. But yeah, all of it is new stuff.
Like, they're even Morrigan, like Ryu, or
yeah, all of it is. Yeah, they're like their own models. Like, I think their Morrigan is probably, I mean, just from these screenshots, like one of the best 3D Morrigans I've seen.
Okay. So the general thing with this that I wanted to ask is that at what point does Marvel modding get to where Marvel goes, hey, that's what I'm always kind of worried about, because we've been covering this evolving mod scene for Marvel vs. Capcom 3 like since we started doing TKO, right? Yeah. And I'm just kind of like happy / amazed that nothing has happened yet. But you know, like even when modders are never charging anything, companies still step in. So that's always what I'm worried about in the back.
The nice part is that usually Capcom won't take that step until you start to sell it. And if you're like, hey, here's the Marvel 3 community mod pack on a disc, or, you know, in a download, it's $10. Oh, they'll be there within seconds. However, no one's charging for anything. No one's directly charging for any of these big releases. It's like completely community done. It's free. Marvel, I wouldn't worry about too much, because again, this is a Capcom game. Capcom bought the licensing rights, so it's not like Marvel is hovering. They just sold them the rights to their characters 10 plus years ago, you know, and that was it. See you later. Thanks for the money, Capcom. Bye-bye. Like, that's kind of like how a lot of that relationship works. And if it was somebody that was going to step in and do something, it would be Capcom, because Marvel versus Capcom is a Capcom intellectual property. Marvel couldn't give a shit. So if there was something in like a Marvel versus Capcom that was like incredibly incriminating, or all this kind of stuff like way after the fact, Capcom would have to be the one to like lawyer up and take that shit down, or cease and desist. It would be their responsibility.
Okay. Because now that I think about it, I've played a bunch of like open BOR beat 'em ups that are just brand new Marvel games, and nothing's ever crossed my desk where it's like, oh, we were told we're given a C&D or anything like that. So I guess that hasn't happened. So I guess that's a precedent.
Capcom has C&D'd people before for mods and stuff, but it's pretty infrequent, and kind of known against them in the mod scene. Capcom and Sega share a pretty similar history in how they approach mods, where they approach it with a blind eye. Where they sort of like, until you cross the line, we don't acknowledge its existence at all. So they don't talk about it. Sega's the same exact way. And if you eventually do something with their properties, they're like, oh, they'll fucking bite you in the ass really bad. Capcom's the exact same way too. They've done it to people before, but it's when they were trying to sell shit. It's when they crossed the line.
Right.
I wonder, the only thing that I can think of that might be an issue is I've seen a lot of like palette swap tournaments like popping up at like majors and stuff. And I know that like at EVO, you can't run like for their retro game tournaments. It has to be on arcade hardware. You can't run like a Mister and FPGA or anything like that, you know, because it's like a Capcom sanctioned event. I doubt it, you know, that like Max says, like they'll care, but that's the only like gray area that like, if this gets like 100 entrants at Combo Breaker and Capcom is, you know, sponsoring Combo Breaker, are they going to allow that, etc.? Yeah, that's the only thing that I can think of.
If it was a situation where like EVO or Combo Breaker was actively utilizing the marketing of a modded palette swap tournament to promote and fill brackets, yeah, you cross the line. But if it's a community thing where it's like 150, 200 people, 1,000 people showed up for a community thing completely run by the community, were they paid to do that stuff? No, they're not official EVO at all. They're just running a side tournament. Completely fine. Like that kind of stuff doesn't, it's in the event where it's like, are paid EVO/Sony employees promoting a game that's not legal? Are they doing that? Then that's a big problem. What you say is actually a great thing that I've been mentioning for legacy tournament stuff. We saw Ultimate Marvel 3 for EVO, and it's like, so what do they do if they want to do Third Strike? They just drag in a ton of Third Strike cabinets. Like, how the hell are you going to run like 100 to 250 to 300 person Third Strike tournament? Because you ain't doing that on 30th Anniversary Collection. Online edition barely exists, right? And Third Strike fans most likely will not want to compete on those things. How the hell does that even work? So again, it's like there's a lot of weird logistical issues here. And it's like, yeah, they're just gonna have to drag cabinets and somehow, but you can't even use your controllers, dude. Like they'll have to rig all of them for the USB outs and all that kind of stuff. It's so much work. What's up, dudes? Before we continue, we wanted to give a big shout out to the sponsor of Triple KO and today's podcast/broadcast, which is Harry's. And for anybody that has not been familiar with Harry's before, you know that myself and Matthew are the two beard brothers that are co-opted in life right now. We have all these specific challenges directly attached to our face, and that is what Harry's is all about, is about the best shaving experience you can get at your home with high quality and other razor/skin products to help you exfoliate your face and make sure that the entire thing does not leave you with a bunch of cuts and blemishes all over your poor facial structure. So Harry's gets razors and other products delivered directly to your door. And I think, Matt, you've actually had an experience with this, because clearly I haven't done anything about this in a while and I'm still waiting for mine to show up.
Yeah, no, I've used some Harry's stuff before, because like my local pharmacy sells Harry's things. So specifically their foaming shave gel. I'm very particular about my foaming shave gel. I've used some before that are good, some that are bad. Harry's one was really, really good, and that like it just felt like it was actually helping your face when you're shaving, usually around this area. It's very sensitive skin around this area. So that was really good for me specifically. And for the starter set, which includes the foaming shave gel, it gets to your door directly, so I can just, you know, cut that trip out of going to my local pharmacy. So specifically the foaming shave gel, but the razors are really good. 5 blade razors is the perfect amount. Because Max, you can't have 6, you know this, right?
That's too many.
And you can't have 4. That's not good enough. So 5 is the right one for me. And fortunately, Harry's does a very good German engineered razor with the weighted handle, which I personally really like.
Big shout out to Harry's again for sponsoring our podcast and, you know, making our beard adventure less cumbersome day by day. You can get your best shave ever this summer with Harry's razors and skincare products. Get $13 off the starter set for just $3 at harrys.com/TKO. That's harrys.com/TKO for a $3 starter set.
The other Marvel 3 thing is, I didn't even know about, like, apparently Doc Ock has been known to be in vanilla Marvel 3 beta files for a while. I never knew this. That's incredible, because the game, generally, except before Infinite, it's like there was only one ever Spider-Man Universe rep, despite him having like a lot of great memorable villains and other heroes. So I didn't
just
even know
Venom.
about this initially.
So I think
Yeah,
it
just
was
Venom.
Nitsuma, the original producer of Ultimate Marvel 3 and Marvel 3 Vanilla, did say that Doc Ock, this was like 2010, that he was like done. The character's like finished, but they ran into a tech issue with his arms or tentacles. The same thing could be applied to the Human Torch. They said some of his fire effects, that the characters were mostly completed, but they had to drop them out of the files. So from what I understand now is that somebody got into the source data of the Xbox 360 version of vanilla Marvel 3. And in there, they did find some stuff tracing back to Doc Ock, so Nitsuma wasn't just completely spewing shit out of his ass. Like he was right. There was some close to being completed shit in there. No character models or anything, but there was UI elements and like the title cards and stuff like that. There was actually like a Doc Ock title card, so he was likely pretty close to being finished. And yeah, there's a lot of other characters he mentioned around that time frame that like either made it or didn't make it. The two ones that were close were Human Torch and Doc Ock.
Okay. Well,
I always heard Frank West as well.
Yeah. Frank was apparently gonna. I think that's what we saw in this one. There was like a Frank icon in Vanilla Marvel 3, teasing the fact that he showed up in Ultimate, obviously, but he might have actually been potentially a vanilla character at some point.
And then they might have moved him to the Western version of Tatsunoko, something like that.
Yeah, that was a few years before. That was when Capcom had the weird emphatic love relationship with Frank, and he has to be in every Marvel vs. Capcom game. I don't want to talk about that story again, but
poor what's his name? The guy from Dead Rising 2.
Chuck
what's
Green.
his name now?
Chuck Green.
Poor Chuck Green.
You know,
he
of all
even like
the
a palette swap.
Of all the years that I've listened to you, Max, that's like your biggest like that hurt me.
That shit
hurts. When I listened to that podcast episode where you're like, I don't care about Frank, I was like, no, like how can you say that?
It's because I
got sick of him too.
To be real, like my hate relationship with Frank goes back to a story that I've told on the podcast and on stream several times, and I'll do an abridged version of it.
Please do.
Found out from Capcom employees that Frank was not originally going to be the big character for Tatsunoko versus Capcom. It was Leon Kennedy. However, it was Keiji Inafune emphatically fought back. And he said, no, Americans love Frank West. We want this game to appeal to the West.
We do.
So they literally deleted the chance of Leon being in a versus game and put Frank West there instead. And at that point, it was like, wow, this is my hate relationship with this new character. Okay, here we go.
On site from now on forever.
So I remember you telling this story, but I'd forgotten about it. So now I hate Frank West more. But my initial thing was I might have talked about this before once or twice on the podcast, is when I went to that one Captivate event, and one of their revealed games at that Captivate event was, here's Dead Rising 2 off the record. It's Dead Rising 2 with Frank. And I'm like, that's the big release from you guys for now. Like, Dead Rising 3 was a couple of years off still. And I was like, like that's a piece of DLC. That's not like, here's a brand new release. And then it was like Frank appearing in 2 different fighting games. And then I was just like, let's calm down. Gene is still in nothing.
And Frank West has been in 3 separate Capcom, technically 4 if you count his files in Vanilla Marvel 3, technically 4 Capcom fighting games.
Wait, what's the Tatsunoko?
Ultimate. He's got stuff in Vanilla technically,
and then Infinite.
And then Infinite.
I forgot. I as we do, I forgot about Infinite.
I never forgot.
You never did. Always on the front lines.
He has the tripod in Infinite. It's cute.
He's actually really fun in Infinite. He's not nearly as OP as he was in like UMVC3 when he levels up and stuff like that, but he's got some fun gimmicks in that game. He looks like goddamn trash though.
Oh, he looks horrible.
They fucked up his face, man. Like, what happened?
I feel like they took like the model from like the Wii Dead Rising and like try to like make him look like try to make him look like the Shinkiro art of Frank with like the big forehead or something. I don't know.
Yeah, also fuck Frank West even further, because I thought we were going to get a built from the ground up Wii Pointer RE4 engine like new game. And then they're like, no, let's take that engine, that tech that we developed for RE4 Wii Edition, and let's make Dead Rising chop till you stop, or
Chop till you drop.
want to chop till, yeah.
know,
and that was such a bummer. It's like Frank kept taking things from Leon.
Yep.
No, like, okay, let's direct our hate towards Inafune.
Yeah, that's true.
Leave Frank alone.
This is true. If there's someone that we can directly appropriate the hate towards, it's going to be like KG Inafune. He fucked everything up. So I feel better about that. Yeah, Frank's not bad.
Thank you so much for bringing us back down to earth there. That felt liberating to be like, this is where it should be going. Thank you. So yeah, lots of Marvel. I love that. It's 2023. Lots of Ultimate Marvel versus Capcom 3 news stuff.
I had a crazy moment last night where somebody in the chat was like, what is all these movies and shows that Max is in, like Assist Me stuff? They just had no idea, and then we eventually boiled back to like Retro Assist Me in the end of Marvel Origins Assist Me, and there's this scene where we're talking to Ono, and Ono's like telling us about like how you know the timeline's intact, everything's fine now, we fixed it, and there's a line, and he says like, the future of these games is in yours and the community's hands, so make it a good one. And it's like, oh shit, oh shit, it came true. It definitely came true. So you know, it's true. Everything that's happening with Marvel vs. Capcom, the series continues, just not in the hands of Marvel and Capcom. Fans are doing more with it than they ever could.
And it's pretty crazy because, like, obviously 2D games much more easy to mod. You know, we have decades of that, but like, I can't think of many or any real like 3D games getting this much fan love and like actual modded support. Like, there's other examples, I'm sure, but I can't think of many.
Tekken 7's probably the next closest, because it's like an engine that's understood and moddable. People have put Baek Tusong in Tekken 7. You know, like they've actually added like older characters that might not have been in T7, or weird other characters like Captain Falcon is in that. They added like Tifa. They actually gave her a move set, but you can't play online. You can only do so much with it. But yeah, the only other game that's comparable where it's like, damn, how much like love and attention and focus of all of these efforts actually go into this stuff. The only other games like Smash Brothers, between Smash Melee, Project M's, Brawl, you know, Project Smash 4, Ultimate, like all those games just get a ridiculous amount of support because people are huge about Smash, right? They just love it. And I think the only other game in the FGC proper that isn't like Smash related, it's obviously Marvel 3. There's people just love the shit out of this game.
Yeah, and I meant, just for fan clarification, I meant like, you know, gameplay stuff, not just like, hey,
not just like models.
I think, you know, Jury's feet need to be bigger and more naked. I don't mean like those types of mods.
Yeah. We're talking about like hard work stuff. Like, you know, granted, like changing models and visuals is hard work, but we're talking about everything else that goes with it, like making the character, their sound effects, like all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, speaking of the future is now with SNK. See what I did there? They announced... I'm not sure what they announced. What did they announce? They announced that they're broadening the scope of their IPs, KOF, their fighting games IPs specifically. I'm not sure if Metal Slug was mentioned, but basically they want to broaden the scope of them to spin them off into more like non-video game things. That's what I'm taking from this. So I'm assuming stage plays, major motion pictures, and I was like, major motion pictures? SNK, you had a major motion picture of KOF.
Several of them.
What do you, there's some anime productions, but like, if this can get us, if this initiative brings us a new Masami Obari directed Fatal Fury anime, I am all for it.
They could definitely afford it, that's for sure.
Exactly. So what would you guys want to see out of this, whatever it may be?
This is going to be the SNK cinematic universe. At the end of every movie, instead of getting asked to join the Avengers or something, it's going to be like someone else getting an envelope for the next tournament or something.
Like have a Kyo spin-off movie and he's like young Kyo and then he gets an invite, or
just everything in general. We'll just copy we'll do what DC tried to do and just copy Marvel again, but with SNK properties, and see how it works out.
I hope this eventually, I mean, I think I got what I wanted, which is like a fucking Rock Howard focused game is back, and it's like he's like the front and center character in like in his own game again. It's like, oh shit, yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted the most. But if you want to talk about possibilities, consideration, you have infinite budget, they need to spend this money on something. That's what this screams at. Like, we have a lot of money, we got to spend it on something. I want crossover stuff to come back. I want Capcom versus SNK, SVC, like that type of thing to come back, but I want SNK to do it. If there's going to be another Capcom versus SNK game, I don't want Capcom to make it. I want SNK to make it.
Absolutely.
I want them to get like their comeuppance, because they got screwed when they were in their worst financial position in like history, when SNK Playmore was like going under, and they had to make SVC Chaos. So that was the game they made in response to, you know, Capcom versus SNK. Capcom got a way better end of that deal. I think it would be very nice if we got SNK actually taking Capcom characters and making their own game out of it. I just would love to see an SVC Chaos or an SVC situation again with the hands of SNK.
Outside of video games, though, if they're like planning to do anything narrative,
no thank you.
No thanks.
No thank you.
Okay.
No
Bold,
shoes,
but I like it.
No shoes, or you know, a Southtown fast food chain, like a Mr. Beast collaboration. I think I'm good. I'll take a Capcom versus SNK game again.
How about mass market, like produce Rock Howard jackets? Like, you could go into like a Target and buy one.
I don't want to see a bunch of Zoomers wearing Rock Howard jackets. I think that's probably the last. I think I'll pay money for that not to happen.
Genuinely, I think, I don't know, the direction of like seasonal anime and stuff like that. Because I think what SNK did the strongest, what makes them like stand apart, especially in the 90s and stuff, versus Capcom, is that they let their characters kind of exist outside of fighting and the tournaments. I think that's why those characters have a lot of appeal. If you look at all of, you know, the classic Shinkiro artwork, it's not Kyo and Iori like punching each other. It's them like having a picnic and stuff like that.
Playing at the beach.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one I remember.
I think that's the appeal of SNK characters to a lot of these, to a lot of the fans, is that they have personalities. They have characters that exist outside of the games themselves. So I think something like, you know, a seasonal story of Kyo, you know, training and then eventually getting invited to the King of Fighters tournament, etc., could do well if it, you know, had a budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it had a budget, yeah.
I would definitely like to see, like a budget, like, you know, mid to high level budget anime for just KOF. That's your biggest thing. Maybe one to coincide with City of the Wolves, you know, whenever that may come out. So, because KOF Destiny, the CGI show, was like real low budget thing that were like, what, 7-minute long episodes? And they barely amounted to a story being told. It was kind of what you're saying. It was fighting and discussing about when they're going to fight. Like, there wasn't really there, but I would like to see, like, you know, episodes of characters just hanging out. Of course, there's got to be conflict and stuff, but I just think seeing those characters explored, like, with time and budget spent, it would be nice, because it's been a long time since either the CGI show or the 90s animes, which again were very focused on fighting.
Can we just say how incredibly cool it is that KOF 14 was the game to set up for all this? I love it. I think because 14 was like my first like injection into King of Fighters, and it was like the one that everyone hated. It was the one that was like clearly universally despised, and I just got like, I remember the first 2 days I was like, this game sucks, I hate it, and then third day, this game's kind of fun. And then that was it. I just really enjoyed the game, and then it eventually got DLC and characters that I would like absolutely enjoy, and that was like the beginning. So all it took was like one game to kind of hit just a little bit, and then another few like big successors like Samurai Shodown ended up selling really well. I think KOF 15 is doing fine, but it's just crazy to see that like SNK now is like a fighting game developer, and there was a very big chunk of time in that mid 2000s, that mid aughts, that 2010s, where it was like, oh, this is rough, man. Oh God, to get to the point where they like, you know, essentially got bought out by big money. Like, it's crazy to me to know where SNK is at currently, and that they got there just by like making fighting games. Like we started making fighting games again, and we pretty much brought our company back.
I think some of this has to do with the success that Nintendo and Capcom have had, where Nintendo famously just stopped licensing their characters for like any mass market like stuff outside of video games, and now there's a new Lego set or a new like the Mario movie, obviously, and they're probably going to be doing more of that. And like, yeah, Nintendo wasn't doing those things like 10, maybe even 5, but like let's say 10 years ago, and Capcom like doesn't do it all the time, but every so often there's been like that Mega Man CGI show. There's going to be the Devil May Cry anime showing up, and I think there's another. Wasn't there another like and all the Resident Evil shit? Obviously. Yeah. By the way, I know this doesn't really have much to do with fighting games, but they've appeared in fighting games. I watched Resident Evil Death Island on a plane
willingly.
Morbid curiosity, let's call it, because I didn't know anything about this other than all the heroes are here. Everyone is here. I was like, that's fine. And I have a love-hate relationship with all the other CGI Resident Evil things. I'm like, that one's all right. That one's bad. That one's all right. That's bad. And I watched this and I'm like, this is the biggest test of like why you can't have evil heroes talking to each other and each other only for an hour and 30 minutes, because there's no story there. It's just one-liner after one-liner. Hey, Chris, what are you doing here? Just taking care of business. Let's party. There's a giant monster. Like, I could not believe how it was just a classic Resident Evil CGI cutscene that's 2 minutes long in a game, but when you stretch
to 90 minutes.
And I don't remember the other CGI movies being like that. I remember Vendetta, which had Leon and just Chris. I think Rebecca as well in a small role. I don't remember them being like this, but this was tough to watch. This was actually, my wife was watching it at the start too. She's like, I want to watch that too. She watches the first 5 minutes. The first scene with Leon on a motorcycle, she's like, I'm done.
Yeah, a lot of these movies come across as like, okay, so here's the idea. We're going to do this. And then, the same thing for this one. Okay, so here's the idea. We're just going to put all the Resident Evil characters in it. Here they are. And then, all right, so should we write a story? No. We'll just wing it. And that's it.
There was a nugget of a story where like a major character is just a rando umbrella security guy that was sent in with Carlos's crew, and it has to do with him. Like, rando guy like spun off years later into being important later. Rando guy you never heard of. I was like, that's kind of cool. But then it can't fight Leon and Chris like slapping hands going, let's get that monster, and then use a gigantic laser gun, and it was just too much. It was just too much. Like, I wanted to like it, but I couldn't.
Does it just scream RE6 energy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense. It's they just get the Resident Evil stories are always way better when they're more personal and focused. When they're like, they boil down to one thing instead of 10 things.
But it's all of the RE6 campaigns at once.
Yeah,
that's the movie. So
that makes sense.
I mean, every single one of those movies is just like, hey, I also have the T-virus.
I got
kill everyone with it,
No, I
found it. It's right here.
And our other sponsor today for this episode of TKO is HelloFresh. This is farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. You can skip trips to the grocery store, which I love doing because my grocery store like closed down and they're opening up a new one. It's way farther.
What is this dystopian future?
Why? There's no reason to move the grocery store away from my house. But now I can count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. And that's why it's America's #1 meal kit. I'm sure Max will know this as well. You can get a crazy schedule over the course of a week, but now you can make it easy to fall back into your dinner time recipe rut. Keep mealtime exciting with over 40 recipes. 40! That's an insane amount to choose from every week, and there's always something delicious to discover with HelloFresh. And with so many in-season ingredients now, you'll taste all the freshness of fall in every bite of HelloFresh's chef-crafted recipes.
Fall. Fall. I just see myself eating leaves. I'm like, ooh.
Right? Pumpkin.
Oh, that's true.
Turkey.
For some reason, I think I'm just eating
stuff.
leaves. Like HelloFresh in the past has been great. I've been sponsored by them a couple of times, and when they do send over the eventual like package, you choose your meals, and this isn't a like pre-prepared meal ready to go, something you microwave, nothing like that. No, this is designed to help you understand how to cook a bit better, and you learn. Like, and with Jessica, she's huge into cooking, right? And she actually wanted to see what was included in their package between their spices and their sauces and how they're gonna make this work. So she learned quite a bit when we got some previous HelloFresh packages and put together some of the meals, and they were quite good. So I emphatically implore you, if you want to learn how to apply yourself a little bit in the kitchen outside of making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, HelloFresh might be one of the best first steps.
Yeah, and you can go to hellofresh.com/50TKO and use code 50TKO for 50% off plus free shipping. That's hellofresh.com/50TKO and use that code 50TKO for 50%. That's an insane amount to get off. 50% off plus free shipping. And remember, HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. Thanks again to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's episode.
In other SNK news, I did find the thing that we was talking about earlier with City of the Wolves. So yeah, there's a 4Gamer interview that came out around Tokyo Game Show, and there was some bits of information. It was from back in like September. They said the story is set in the same era as before, from Mark of the Wolves. The game system is completely new, no line system. So
Ooh.
I'm bummed too, man. I can't jump. I'm bummed. That's gonna suck.
I'm the only guy that likes the line system.
Brake system's coming back. It's slightly more developed, still in its alpha stage, so they're still figuring out core game mechanics and how they work. So that's gonna be cool. There's gonna be I think brake system from Mark of the Wolves was like their cancel in some ways, where like some moves could get canceled. Rock barely had any of it, so I fucking never got to use it. Terry had some cool stuff you can do with it. Other than that, rollback netcode confirmed. They're considering modern controls, which might be like one of the first SNK games, maybe with more simplified controls. Outside of like what was the Gal Fighters game called?
SNK Heroines.
SNK Heroines, but that's arguably the worst way to do it because the game had a goddamn jump button.
I forgot.
And then it's going to be a 1v1. It's not a team game. And they're thinking about a release date for the beginning of 2024 is when they might give us a release date. And they said, wait for Evo Japan. And that's like April.
Okay.
Yeah, the end of April. It's definitely going to be interesting to see, like, we haven't seen, I know they're not KOF characters, but we haven't seen these characters exist in a game, like, that doesn't have, like, a huge roster.
It's like 25 years.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see, like, SNK release a game in this style that's not Sam Show with, like, a core cast, like, of like 16 characters, if that, And
I'm a little concerned about like the overall success of this game because of that, where it's got like a really niched roster. Samurai Showdown coming back was like the Street Fighter 4 for like SNK games, because if there's one thing, like KOF games are relatively popular worldwide, and so is like Fatal Fury, and people know these games, but I feel like Samurai Showdown hit like a level of overall familiarity like back in the 90s that even eclipsed some of the other games. So when that came back and that got revived, of course it sold super fucking well, and that's I think still one of their best selling games to date. I don't know if I think there's a lot of reverence for Gauro in the hardcore community, and a lot of like people that know video games, but anybody that doesn't is just like, what's a Gauro? What the hell? What's a Fatal Fury? Like, it feels like it might be something that you have to sell me on it,
I think the best they can do in this scenario, like they already did like one thing of it, is that Fatal Fury's in the title.
Yes,
that helps.
That was smart.
And the other thing is that, like, even though they are not part of Gauro 1, you have to have like
all those
Andy,
characters.
Joe, Geese, even though Geese should not be there, but like
he should be. You have to. He's gonna be a boss or an undead bone pile. I don't care.
Yeah, he's just a tombstone. He's
Yes,
just
yes.
sits there. But yeah, you have to focus on, for the core roster at least, focus on them. Have some of the actual Garo characters like Tizok or the Kim Sons, or Kevin Ryan maybe. But yeah, you have to have like the characters that were absent from Garo 1,
Yeah.
the ones that people would sort of recognize. Like that's your best hope.
And
But-
most likely a few of the Garo 2 characters that, were like data mined and people have been seeing for years. That stuff is probably going to be realized in some way.
the black dude with the fucking coat, that guy.
Yep, exactly.
I forget his name, but he's so cool. Anyway. But yeah, thanks for finding that, Max, because I totally missed on those little bits. At least that's something.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff from like TGS that's been floating around, and it's like, I don't know if we talked about this.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see what SNK will do with this stuff. Whatever it is, I hope like it'll be something, of a certain quality and budget, because they've been lacking that for any of their spin-off stuff. Speaking of spin-off stuff, there was once an MK versus DC animated movie pitched from one of the writers that has been working on the Mortal Kombat animated movies under WB. And WB just shot it down, which is really weird to me. And in the interview with the writer, he just basically said, yeah, they just kind of shot it down and that's it. No real reason given. It's just shocking to me because it's just like there's been tons of actual super violent DC animated movies. Like even the Harley Quinn show is like one of the most violent cartoons I've ever seen, for example. And they own both things. And they made a game based on this concept years ago. So really weird to me that like, some WB exec was just like, yeah, no, how about we don't do that? So it just seemed like everything was firing on all cylinders. Why not do this? Especially Injustice. With the success of Injustice, this just seemed like you could have done this a couple of years ago. It could have been a pretty big success.
I got another thick brain prediction. Why? Because they're going to do it with something else. Because that's probably where that's probably where we're going from this point now that we didn't get Injustice 3. I think that's, I don't know. After all this waiting and it was like MK1 shaping up the way it was like, okay, something clearly was going on in the background. I'm fairly confident that wherever we're going with NRS games from this point forward, the next game is going to reintroduce DC characters and MK characters in the same universe.
Okay, I see. All right. So you mean like its own separate thing?
Right. An event. Again, it's like they already did that before. Why wouldn't they do something like this now? Probably because they're saving that IP for something else,
Okay.
Or then maybe they can revisit it later on when that's more related, or like how they did an Injustice comic and all this stuff around when Injustice 1 and 2 are out. You have to think of like large scale marketing like that. Release a cartoon, we got a game, we got comic books, like there's all this stuff. And then just saying like, no, like that's not happening now. That feels, to me, that feels like that. There's no reason why they wouldn't. Why wouldn't they just make a comic book about it or something, or a show?
Because for MK1 right now, I kind of just didn't even realize it. Like this week, it's like 2 other Mortal Kombat things came out, which was the mobile game MK Onslaught, which is like, revealed like a while ago, and the Johnny Cage movie. So that's like almost to the day, right a month after MK1, here are these 2 follow-up things. So they're doing this again. This reminds me of like back in 97 when they had like 3 or 4 things leading up to the release of MK4. There was there was Annihilation. Mwah, perfect. You guys nailed it. And then MK Mythology Sub-Zero, and those released like within months of MK4's like arcade debut, somewhere around then. So this kind of blitz of MK1 or MK stuff in general kind of reminds me of it. Guile, that's totally your real name. You experienced both these things over the last couple of days. Why don't you start us off with what you thought of them?
Okay, let's start off with the good. I actually enjoy the DC animated Mortal Kombat movies. There's been 4 of them so far. The one that came out yesterday is the 4th one. The first 2 were kind of alternate reality retellings of stories we already know. So like, the first Mortal Kombat tournament, etc. There were some changes and stuff, but like it was cool. But like where I think it got interesting is with the third movie.
Yeah.
It was like an entirely original story where like Shao Kahn has already invaded Earthrealm and now everything's Mad Max. And so like Kenshi is the main character going around like a Mad Max Mortal Kombat universe.
And
you know?
Kano is like this all-encompassing cybernetic god. It was nuts.
It ruled. So with this newest one, it's all about Johnny Cage, his quote unquote origin story, but it's basically like an 80s Miami Vice schlock adventure with Johnny Cage and Ashra, which like I did not expect whatsoever.
So when we first covered this, the announcement of this movie, it just said Ashra played by Kelly Hu, which is funny to me considering Kelly Hu does not play Ashra in MK1, but plays Lee May and Madame Bo as well, doing her best old lady voice. This is the best version of Ashra. I don't know what it was. This just worked for me so well because she looks like a supermodel, but she's got like the big, huge shoulder pads. And her hair looks cool, and I don't know. There's something about it. I like the MK1 version of Ashra as well, but like this is just I don't know. This worked for me because Johnny Cage and Ashra. That's not a pairing you would think would work, but it totally did.
This movie, I really liked it. Honestly, it's dumb, it's schlocky, but it's like supposed to be. But the animation and like the aesthetic they went for, they really like went in on this like 80s Miami Vice sort of thing. So the way that the characters like outlines are, they always have like neon like highlights on them and stuff. It just looked incredible to me, honestly.
Yeah, because unlike the other movies, they all look like just WB superhero fare. Like nothing bad, obviously. There's some of them look good. I always felt the Scorpion in the first two movies had that weird bridge around his like brow where it looked like reptile. Like it looked like a weird like scaly brow.
It's just such a horrific scowl that it has ingrained like the Grand Canyon into the ridge of his forehead.
I guess the only explanation I could think of. But yeah, I watched this too last night, and I made a tweet about it, just saying like I really enjoyed this overall. There were like a couple of gags and like things that kind of like that wasn't as funny as we were hoping it was going to be, but it's like really minor stuff, and it's only like in the first 20-ish minutes. And this isn't a long movie either. It's like very svelte. It's like an hour and 19 minutes or something like that. But yeah, out of all the Mortal Kombat movies, I think I might have enjoyed this the most because even though the MK Snowblind, which is the Kenshi one you referenced, that has Sub-Zero in it, and in the future, that still was like really weird. It was like you have to accept this entire new time frame that we're doing this, and all this crazy shit is happening over here. Whereas this is like you could start here. Like even if you don't know anything about Mortal Kombat, look, we barely even talk about Mortal Kombat. There's lots of violence and stuff, but it's a tidy story from point A to point C, 3 acts. It's simple to follow. And some lines really got me, like Johnny Cage rattling off all the martial arts that he knows and says, I pronounced all of those correctly. And I won't spoil it, obviously, but at the end, a couple of really nice, funny references about Johnny Cage explaining what everyone went on to do. Like so-and-so did this. Some of those I'm like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You're waiting for people to clap on them, but I did clap on them. So good on you. But out of all of them, where do you think this one ranks? Did you like Snowblind more or?
I liked it more than Snowblind. I think my top is still like the first one. I think that's Scorpion's Revenge. I really enjoyed that one because I watched it with a bunch of friends who don't care about Mortal Kombat, and even they like walked away like, oh, that's cool, So maybe biased, nostalgic 4 years ago experience with that movie. God, it's been 3-4 years. That's crazy.
Yeah, they've been doing these a while now.
Yeah, one comes out like every year.
It seems like it. But here's the funny thing. It's like we were going in like a timeline, like the Mortal Kombat 1 tournament, then Battle of the Eras. Max, I think you saw that one, right?
No, I have not seen a DC animated movie or an animated Mortal Kombat movie.
Pretty sure you must have seen Scorpion's Revenge. I thought we talked about it. Anyway, Battle of the Eras, the second one, combines 6 games at once, and it is the most awkward, like, what is happening? thing. That's like the worst one to me, just because they tried to stuff it with so much stuff, and it just doesn't work. It just collapses in on itself. But yeah, out of all of them, I'd say like I like this one the most, just because it was like, here's a tale from start to finish, and it's not really a cliffhanger per se. I mean, there sort of is, but not really. And just, yeah, Joel McHale does a great job as Johnny Cage, so I was very happy with this. Lots of fun little references in there. Did you? Okay, I don't think this is a cameo that, like, with a K, that lasts all of 1 second. But did you catch the two Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance characters that appear towards the very end?
No, I guess I did.
There's a portal that opens up and two specific people step out, and you never see them again. Like, they just, no?
Is it Cobra? Is it who?
No. Okay. I just wanted to know if you caught. I won't then spoil it. But
Now I gotta go back.
I was very happy. It's like a portal opens up at the, like, in the last 10 minutes, and then there's like a mob of like generic demons, and they snuck in two characters in that scene. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, I enjoyed this. I also said this in my tweet. I kind of wish they did more of these origin stories leading up to doing the tournament stuff, because they tried to like railroad and fast track the tournament stuff without having a lot of time to introduce all these characters in this new animated universe. So I was kind of like, I could have done one with like the Lin Kuei, set them all up, the Black Dragon and Special Forces, and then maybe Johnny Cage like this one, and then do the tournament. That just seemed like, you know, the smoother ride, because now it's kind of all over the place. But
we've also already seen the Mortal Kombat tournament told.
Yes.
In so many
exactly.
mediums, in so many different ways already, that
like in the games, the cinematic story modes, the like 2 live action movies, another animated movie, The Journey Begins. So yeah, if they're going to do that, or like, you know, set up this universe a bit different, but it is what it is. And the other Mortal Kombat thing is Mortal Kombat Onslaught, the RPG mobile game. I also played this for a little bit, but I'd like to get your take on this. I'm assuming, Max, did you partake in Mortal Kombat Onslaught yesterday?
Yes, I onslaughted all over my cell phone.
Okay.
And by yes, I mean no.
That answers that. So what did you think of this? I played it for about like 10 minutes, maybe less. So.
Yeah, I played about 30 minutes. I'm not the audience for this.
Neither am I.
I don't ever play games on my phone, ever.
Neither do I.
I'm thankful that I don't like these types of games because I don't want to get into the Mortal Kombat gotcha hell. I don't need to be spending money to, you know, re-roll Beach Sub-Zero or something. So I'm kind of thankful that I'm not a fan of these games, but I was going into it interested because I was like, oh, it's supposed to be like a RPG. Maybe it's like, from the screenshots I saw, I was like, okay, this is going to be like a tactics game maybe.
Yeah, I thought so as well.
No, it's just similar to Street Fighter Duel, where you set up your units and you hit go.
Yeah.
And then they do their thing, and then every once in a while you're like, Sub-Zero has the ability to shoot an ice ball, and I press the ice ball button and he does it. So not for me, but I'm sure it's going to make them bajillion dollars. So good for them.
So yeah, very, very much the same as you. I will give this credit for being more interesting than Street Fighter Duel, because Street Fighter Duel is the tournament fight, and now and there's no real context for what you're doing. Whereas this does have a cinematic story that you could look at. There's like 30 minutes of cutscenes, or 40 minutes, something like that. And it's this weird hodgepodge of Mortal Kombat 11 assets, brand new models that have slight differences and tweaks from those Mortal Kombat 1 assets, and even MKX stuff. Like, there's stages that are just
like All-Stars, right?
Yeah, essentially. And I kind of find that fascinating. Whenever that happens, when it's 3D assets, I'm always like, oh, where did this come from? Where did that come from? That's neat that they changed that. But and the fact that the game is in full 3D, whereas Street Fighter Duel is just that like Tekken art style, where it's just a picture that just like gyrates and pulsates, and that's basically it. So I was like, oh, there's production value here. And what is not so great is when like there's not a CGI cutscene happening. It's just characters talking back and forth, and it's not voiced. But then other cutscenes are voiced, but most aren't. and the writing is just like, Scorpion, what are you doing here? Oh, sorcerer, I am here now. Feel my wrath. And a voice actor can kind of do something with a line like that, like enunciate, be intense. But when you're reading it in text, it's like not that fun. And those conversations drag. It just goes on like that. And then it's like, yeah, now you auto fight and that's it. What's weird to me is that the gotcha element is like, there's not even that many characters you can get. There's like 10 on the good side, and you're just getting variants of them, I think. I didn't play that far to know, but is that how it works?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a lot of like, just costumes or just like gear and stuff. Because a lot of the stuff that like I was rolling was like more so like items and equips on the characters,
So like you weren't getting like beach fun Sub-Zero.
Eventually, probably, if I maybe spent enough money. But
Ninja assault like Liu Kang or something. Okay.
yeah.
I do completely agree where it's like, yeah, like, are we the audience for these games? Probably not. But I do completely endorse the idea, and it goes all the way back to Injustice 1, where you have like a fighting game and a accompanying like abridged sort of like mobile version that can help support the other thing. Skullgirls also has this as well. Like I think that sort of symbiotic relationship where it's like, hey man, if we like make bank on the mobile game, is it possible that that could also split and help out the fighting game in some way, where it's like they technically work together? I love that shit. If like, I actually didn't mind having to get like the Batman Beyond skin for Batman in Injustice 1 by playing the mobile game to get it on console. I was like, this integration's fine, but this is like more like a strategy game, right? Which is very different than what I would think a Mortal Kombat fighting game would be, quote unquote strategy.
Yeah.
Because there's like mobile games for Injustice and MKX and 11, I think, where they are traditional fighting games.
I think so.
Honestly don't know. Like they play on a phone where it's a bit slower pace, but
they weren't like fighting games. They were like 1v1 battles, but you had like specific like buttons like punch, kick, dodge, sort of thing. And I'm sure you guys have seen like the infamous like Injustice like cabinet that's at like Dave & Buster's, that's just like the mobile game on like a cabinet.
Mobile Injustice 1.
I hate that thing because I forget that it exists, and then when I see it I go, what's this? Fuck. Every time it fools me that it's this thing, and I'm like, if it helped out the fighting game like Max said, fine, but like, I don't know if it did.
If there's one thing that I think is interesting about this mobile game is I'm already seeing people like the MK community like rip the models and stuff, and they're like, oh, this model's changed a little bit from Mortal Kombat X. Like, that means they're definitely going to be DLC. Jackie's model hasn't been touched. She's not going to be in Mortal Kombat 1, I like to see the discourse that this mobile game is creating.
The interesting thing, I think, about like the mobile efforts from NRS is that they are made in the same studio. There is an entire mobile division in the couple of times I've been there, an entire different segment of NRS Studios that is mobile division. And we usually don't go over that and visit, but I've like, some of them have said hi, so I've gotten to see it. They're just in the same exact offices. So it makes sense that they share a lot of the same sort of assets.
Yeah, because the CGI cutscenes, it's like NetherRealm had to have worked on them. It's the exact same assets or whatever, and they look good when they're playing. And some of the voice actors I noticed were changed. Like it's the different voice of Raiden, for example, because this is MK11 Raiden, so it's not the same one. There's one or two I'm like, that sounds like a different voice. So I guess they couldn't get them back for those particular lines. So yeah, like we're kind of summing up. It's, if you're a fighting game fan, you might not necessarily be into this, but if you're into the gacha auto battler stuff, it seems like it is a high production value sort of thing, and there's a story to it, so there's that. But Street Fighter Duel, at least it's like you constantly got like a shitload of a wide variety of different characters. And when I played that again for the 10 minutes that I did, I was like, man, I would really like it if Cody did pop up and I got Cody or something like that. But then my like brain reality kind of sets in. I'm like, but I'm probably not going to get him, so I'm not going to play this ever again. And I uninstalled it. But the Mortal Kombat one doesn't even seem to really have that, where it's like there's a team of good guys and a team of bad guys, and it's like 10 or 12 characters each, and that's kind of it.
And then you're also getting like non-Mortal Kombat characters on your team. Like you're getting like a ninja. This is just a generic ninja you get on your squad.
Or like those spirits that you would get in the MK1 story mode, like elementals. Like Scorpion gets the fire guy. It's like, at least like give me like cooking with Scorpion. Like I want that, or Ninja Mime or something. But maybe Ninja Mime is in there. I'm not really sure. But yeah, like maybe Justin will played it when he's on the next episode. We'll talk to him about it because he's into these games a bit more than us. But that's for that. Next up, Omni Man MK1 trailer. Now, I was a bit confused by this because I think Ed was like kind of using some wordplay. It's like there will be no Omni Man gameplay trailer at New York Comic Con. And he maintains that that's true.
Yeah.
It was a teaser. Because Max, I watched your reaction. You're like, sure would like to see more. And it's like, well, it's a teaser, so legally they don't got to show you more until later.
He's like out in 2 weeks, man. Like, come on. Like, what the hell? Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's kind of like a nice like surprise, and it's something that we knew was going to happen, and you see it, and it's like, oh yeah, this is fully well realized. But he does not look like an MK1 character. He looks like Puffy McBuff, man, and he has so many like cartoony elements about him that it's just like, I don't know what to think about this yet. He feels really out of place the more I look at it.
He feels like they didn't exactly want to render him in like MK1 super realistic, photorealistic, kind of grimy, like not grimy, but their art style. It's like they kind of went for like both. Where he should sort of look a little.
His
bit
face
like
looks good.
Invincible. His face looks good. Yeah. But yeah, I do agree. His costume's very like. Yeah, a little puffy and Superman-y, but like old like 80s Superman, not like an Injustice version. I'm glad though that you noticed the references. When in Invincible, the cartoon show, when he's fighting Invincible, goes down into the subway station, and a shitload of people die. Like that's still like that's a visual. Like it's been like 2-3 years since Invincible. I'll always remember that scene because it's fucked up. And at least NRS always understands the assignment. They're like, well, that's a fatality right there. And looks like his fatal blow is the same way. So, this is the type of stuff you expect from them. It would be weird if it wasn't like this.
Yeah.
If he just shot a beam out of his eyes and that's it, you'd be like, that's not NRS, especially when it comes to guest characters.
Yeah.
So I was impressed with that stuff. But yeah, there's not a whole lot to look at this.
I mean, to be honest, the fatalities are impressive, but the more I've played of MK1, man, it's like I really want to see how more cameos work. I really want to see how these characters. I want to see how different Fucky McSuperman plays compared to the other Fucky McSuperman.
Exactly.
And so far, it's like I saw Scorpion's launcher. I saw like one special move or something. He had a counter, and it's like, it's cool that this is happening, but it's like, man, like I feel like they undersell a lot of their characters sometimes at NRS stuff, at least in MK1. And this happened with several characters that were revealed, if not even shown off in Combat Cast, where it's like they kind of undersold this character because later on when they eventually come out, there's a lot more to them. So it feels like, I'm starting to, in some ways with the marketing approach, feel the casualization of Mortal Kombat even more than before, where they're like afraid to show people the depth. We don't want to go too far into it. Hey, just look at our flashy bullshit. This is it. We don't even want to show you like things that resemble kind of like cool combos or what's possible. And that's what I'm hoping is the case with Omni Man, where we don't even have a gameplay trailer yet. They barely even showed any gameplay. It's pretty much a teaser. I'm hoping his gameplay trailer really knocks it out of the park, and we actually get a character that I really want to play.
There's a happy medium where you could like make like a middle ground video.
100%.
that's like 6 minutes long that kind of breaks down a character, but you also don't want to like ask the casual fan, well, go check out the combat cast that's like, 45 minutes, an hour long to check out the character. You could break it down, but like that doesn't happen in fighting games very often. I can't remember any marketing that's like, here's how a character works in depth. They got to show like the flashy bullshit, like you said.
Not in depth, yeah. There's definitely no fighting games that make trailers that are approximately 1.5 to 2 minutes that try to focus on each of the mechanics of the character while also showing what's cool. That doesn't exist.
Yeah. Far gone are the days of SNK revealing one character with 30 seconds of a couple of combos and then just ending.
The Dragon Ball trailers, Jesus Christ, man. Guys, get hyped for 38 frames. Let's go.
DNF Duel.
Yeah.
Dropping combos.
Yeah. DNF Duel had dropped combos and they were like, oh my God, dude, this is fucking brutal.
So I'm also like kind of, when you show me the Homelander trailer, I assume it will be this. Like I'm punching you really hard. You fly across the screen. I grab you. This is kind of what we talked about before. We were kind of worried, like, you have these two evil Superman characters. There's only like, their powers are really similar. Like, at least I'm going by the shows that I've watched. I've read some of The Boys. I've read some of Invincible. Maybe they do crazier, much more different shit later, but like their base thing, I shoot lasers, I'm strong.
I personally hope that John Cena went into a recording studio and then had to deliver lines for Peacemaker in Mortal Kombat 1, and specific line delivery he was given, like the lines were like, keep away and zoning. So he had to say those things when he shoots you from distance. Keep away, zoning, keep away, zoning, keep away, zoning. I hope that happened. Please, dear God.
So yeah, do you have any other thoughts on Omni Man, Leighton?
I love Invincible, the show.
Okay.
And I enjoy The Boys, the show. I hate the comic.
Yeah, the comics pants. Yeah.
I'm not the most psyched on these characters in Mortal Kombat 1, but like Max says, I'm looking forward to, actually seeing what they can do. But also with what Max said, these trailers are definitely like not for us.
They ain't it.
These are for people like, holy shit, Omni Man's gonna be in a video game.
Yeah, the casualization of it. And even we felt this a lot even in some of the other trailers for MK1. Some of them were like genuinely really exciting, but a lot of them were just like, they really didn't show anything. They showed like one special and 2 strings, and that was it. And it's mostly just like the reveal of it. It's like it's that aspect that they want to get you with.
Sorry, someone else.
Matt's
I
exploding.
Frog in my throat.
He's so excited for Omni Man.
I will say we did get more information around this time frame that genuinely bummed my ass out. I was sort of sitting on a character crisis in Mortal Kombat 1 right now. I'm on like 4 or 5 characters, and I actually last night played a bunch of Havoc, and I really like Havoc. He might end up being my character in the game. But I'm still soul searching, right? So I'm just like, I'm just waiting for Takeda, brother. Let's go. My character's coming back. Let's go. And they're like, he's coming out in summer. He's like a July character. I'm like, oh my fucking God, what? Like Street Fighter 6 release window stuff, and we got more concrete time frames on how they're spreading out these 6 characters. And Jesus, man, like Ermac is like March or some shit, like March or April potentially, and Takeda's like July. I'm like, the game's gonna be out for a year, dude. So that's like, wow. All right. Oh my, Quan Chi is the first MK character we're getting, but they're closing it out with Takeda.
I assume this is because each character has an associated cameo that's going up at the same time, or roughly the same time. Does that not like make sense?
We don't know, do we? See, that's like, you would think, at least, I mean, it just makes sense to me that between characters you would supplement with a cameo, because at least for me, the most interesting thing about MK1 is the cameos.
100%.
And I want a bunch of cameos to do crazy bad shit stuff,
Yes.
I want more evil stuff in neutral. I want more evil mix-ups.
100%. I agree with you.
I want characters that, just... And it's the easiest way to make everyone happy by bringing back characters you'll never get as a full...
Movado and shit.
Yeah,
Movado.
You'll make everyone happy, but their lack of saying literally anything on adding more cameos is like really... bumming me out.
So the weird cameo thing that happened, which is like makes me think that damn, they're just like playing this play by play right now. Like what's going on
what
here?
You're gonna say.
Yeah. So this happened. So we have like the cameos for season 1 were originally Johnny Cage, Movado, Farah, not Ferrator, and somebody else. Like it was a limited amount of cameos, but then it wasn't directly matching the DLC. So it was like, oh, all right, I would think that would be opposite, where they'd like, here's 12 fucking cameos, and here is 6 DLC characters. It's actually different. There's lesser cameos than main characters. So I'm missing one, but the weird thing that happened is that pre-release, they literally sold you on the content that season 1 was going to have with like the Ultimate Edition and stuff like that. They're like, hey, you want to buy into the super expensive $90 version of Mortal Kombat 1? Here's the DLC for it too. Here's what comes with it. That DLC includes Johnny Cage as a cameo. They came out recently, like over Comic-Con, and said, it's not Johnny Cage, it's Janet Cage. Mm-hmm. So that's funny to me, and I understand it. I've beaten this. Matt, have you beaten the story mode?
So I was going to talk about that next.
Okay.
I did beat and play MK1.
So just for perspective, we've beaten the story mode. We know why they might have been saving that for now instead of beforehand. That makes sense thematically, but it's also very weird that like, hey, you already bought the game thinking that Johnny Cage was going to be an assist. Potentially, I don't know which daft bastard you might have been wanting to spend $90 for Johnny Cage as an assist specifically, but you might have been one of those weird people that were like that, and that might have been a selling point for you. They just changed that. Hey, no, it's not that anymore. It's something else. And that comes across as like, that's fucking weird. That's like saying like, hey, here's our DLC for the game. Here's what's gonna happen. Here's when it comes out. It happens later on. No, it's not that. It's this. Like, whoa, what?
So fundamentally, you're right. That's basically a bait and switch. At the same time, it's like it would be a story spoiler if, let's say, this was always the plan all along.
And that's the ass cover. Yeah.
That's the ass cover, but at the same time, could they have thought, well, we have this model, people really responded well to like this sequence of events that happens in the story mode, maybe we should just switch. That's exciting. I think the best way to cover your ass is when that DLC thing cameo was kind of leaked out or eventually became official.
Sure.
The character should just have been called Cage.
Yes.
Then you couldn't.
Yeah.
You couldn't.
There could have been several more approaches to this because we have not seen those assist characters in any way at all, like what they look like. So just, okay, so it's Johnny. I wonder what kind of Johnny it is. Like there's definitely a conversation there that should have been had, because to me it comes across as very odd that this is what it was and now it's something different. But ultimately, I hope they do this for the other cameos as well, where it's like, oh, we're just going to bring back, here's Smoke. And he's a cameo now. Well, I want him to be make him, crazy cyber Smoke or some shit. Like, let's make this character something nutty that was like from the story mode, because I still think that Scorpion featuring Scorpion is still weird. It's still weird. If it was Scorpion featuring Scorpina, like, or something like that, like Scorpina or whatever the heck we're gonna call like a female Scorpion, that actually is way more interesting if we get these multiverse cameos,
Mm-hmm. Boob Saibot.
Nailed it, dude. Why aren't you? Good. Where's the check?
Move to Chicago now.
That's a Mugen character. Anyway, what do you think about the Scorpion featuring Scorpion and Sub-Zero featuring Sub-Zero? Because on previous episodes, I think we all kind of agreed it's a little weird.
It's a little lame. Yeah, the only one that I really appreciate is like Kung Lao, because like it's his like MK2 outfit. It's like obviously like this is the other universe Kung Lao. It's still, I wish that they just did other characters, honestly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
like it's not a deal breaker, but it kind of like what Max is saying. I would have appreciated a little bit if that Kung Lao, the Kung Lao assist cameo, was the great Kung Lao, and just tweak the model a little bit. Like I don't know what you would do in Scorpion's case, because I get what they're thinking. Yes, this is actual Hanzo Hasashi Mortal Kombat 1 to 3 Scorpion. It's not the character we have in the roster, but I'm like, they're called Scorpion. Like, we're splitting hairs here. And
I have to reiterate for anybody that's listening or watching, there's a lot of weirdness that we mentioned with MK1 just in general and overall with how they approached it, marketing funky stuff in game. They are lucky as shit. The game is fun as hell. Like, it's actually like every single time I jump in and play MK1, most of the time I'm having a great fucking time. And I'm reminded that, like, yeah, this is what it used to feel like to really enjoy NRS games. It's been a while for me, man. Holy shit.
You know, I did not watch any MK11. I bought it day one. I mean, you guys have talked about it a million times. I wasn't a fan. I probably have never watched the top 8 for MK11. But every single morning when I log into work, I open up a second tab and watch, Ketchup and Mustard stream MK1. I watch Honeybee playing Reptile like literally every single day since it's come out. Because, yeah, even just watching the game, it's fun. I love it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, obviously, like, all the bugs and the not polished version of the launch thing has been rough. That'll also lead me into talking about... I purchased a version of MK1 in addition to the one that I have on PlayStation 5. I purchased the Switch version once I saw that a patch had gone up, and I was like, the last podcast we didn't know a whole lot about the Switch version other than the memes. Look, it's ugly.
Yeah.
And then lots of viewers let us know, oh, it's worse than that. Like, invasions mode does not work. You cannot get past Johnny Cage's mansion. There's no invasion after that. It just stops.
Whoa, so it isn't one-to-one content parody?
I think it was
or is it a bug? Oh, okay.
I think it was a bug, but like the new patch just said invasion mode is implemented or something. And I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. So I did put a little bit into it, just did some arcade ladders and stuff. And obviously, this is the patched version. I know some things are fixed and some things like look ugly. Shang Tsung's hair is apparently still bad and stuff. But actually playing it, like, I didn't notice anything too egregious. Like, the stuff from the screenshots, I didn't really notice anything. Like, I took characters that you saw in screenshots, Smoke, Johnny Cage, Lee May, and I thought it was fine from what I played. Obviously, there's still issues to iron out, but it was mostly the background. Some backgrounds looked like much rougher than the models, where elements are just blurry. Like, that horrible monstrosity that's in Shang Tsung's like lab.
Yeah.
That, like, flayed guy. Like, fuck that thing.
Flayed
Thanks for
man.
making content creation super hard. But that thing is all blurry and it's kind of like desaturated a little bit, where it's like, okay, it's not like, it's still there, but it's not in your face. And there's a lot of cutbacks to it, but I was kind of like, this plays okay. Like, I'd play this casually, just do some arcade stuff. But other than that, like, this seems okay. Was it like full price, $70? It should be the exact same thing, especially when it launched and invasions mode didn't work. Again, I'm pretty sure this must have been a bug, but like, it still was rougher than MK11 was. I didn't own that version, but I did play Liam's. He had that on his Switch, and I was like, yeah, this seems solid enough, I guess. But like, I just wanted to see like what it was about and if the patch really affected things. The thing that killed it, though, even post patch, is the load times were insane for starting up a match.
Yeah,
Max,
I saw that. They literally take like over a minute.
I think it might have been reduced by 5 seconds on this patch or something, but it's like, yeah, you do your quote and the characters just
stare at each other,
rub each other's arms for like 45 seconds to a minute. And I thought like, oh, my console is fucked, or the game didn't install correctly. And I actually loaded into the match. I was like, damn, that's unacceptable, like, really, to me, for a fighting game.
Yeah.
Like, that reminds me of like early like PlayStation, early PC, like, 95 loading into a fighting game or like whatever would sometimes be like that. That was the roughest part I saw.
And while we're dogging on ports just a little bit, I just want to beg NRS to start developing their PC ports in-house. I don't know if you guys saw, but
how bad is it?
Well, I mean, I haven't had like too many issues, but I'm not, playing King of the Hill or a Combat League like every single day.
Sure.
I'm playing, just like matches, like, well, there's no lobbies or whatever. I mean, there's sort of lobbies.
well, there's that problem too.
But yeah, that's like not performance. I thankfully haven't had like, you know, horrible issues or anything. But I didn't know this. I saw on Twitter today that apparently every single time the game crashes on PC, it creates a crash report. And inside your NRS, like, you know, your Steam apps NRS folder or whatever, it creates a 1 gig file for every single time the game crashes.
That's good.
Which is just like, come on.
Overall,
it's a feature.
Overall, like, is the PC version kind of okay? Does it feel pretty good online and stuff?
I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've been debating. I've been on PS5. I've been debating because I think all that account shit just transfers over to your WB account. So I'm like, I don't want to lose my progress, but I think I keep it. So now that I'm like really debating, maybe I should play the PC version.
I don't remember if I know that like MKX had like horrible issues on PC when it first came out.
Yes.
I don't remember MK11 did.
It did.
I was lucky enough to not experience it.
It took time. I played MK11 PC. It took some time for them to figure it out, and also fans optimized it.
So yeah, I personally haven't had any crazy issues, but within that tweet, someone had 47 gigs of crash reports. Which means their game crashed 47 times.
That's a lot too, yeah.
Yeah, so I wouldn't endorse it right now. I have no other choice. I only have PC and old arcade machines.
Did you possibly do the 60 FPS cinematic stuff? Is that functioning in the PC version or no?
I won't lie. I haven't played story mode. I watched it on YouTube with friends.
I mostly mean like the character select screen, the intros, the outros. They all run at like 24. And on MK11 PC version, you could actually change that. Like there was a setting where it's like, oh, make everything be 60, and it's like, oh god, it's so much nicer. So that'll almost be enough for me to jump over.
No, I have not done that.
Okay.
But like in general, yeah, if those crash reports were like 1 kilobyte, oh, that's great. Still doesn't matter because, like you said, you crashed 47 times. So it's like 2 problems. So yeah, it's a little rough. But yeah, I did see that tweet and I was like, wow, okay. Because yeah, I was debating the PC version as well. But I think on the podcast like a few weeks back, I was just like, yeah, maybe. Because I'd never played MK11 on PC, but you're saying like by the end it was fine, Max?
Yeah, I remember the PC version being okay. The one that was really unacceptable was Mortal Kombat X, and the PC version of that was abysmal. There's actually, and I have to just mention this because MKX now is my favorite way to play. The game is on PC, and the PC version is incredible because of fan modding. People got in and literally optimized the entire engine of the game, and it performs way better. Things run at 60, like they reduce the input delay by a ton. Like it makes it hard to go back to the PS4 version. Especially the PS5 version, because PS5 MKX has a ton of input delay. So now I almost like dedicated play the PC version just because I love it. You can like anti-air people. It's amazing. So if anybody really likes Mortal Kombat X, and you know it's one of my favorite fighting games ever, play the PC version and download like the fan mods for game engine optimization. It makes the game a much better experience.
Okay, because I actually about 6 months ago I rebought MKX on PC, but I think I have it installed, but I didn't know about the fan mods, so that's sick.
You have to do a couple of workaround things and like download like a thing or two that are kind of funky, but then when it works, it's like, oh my god, yeah, this is way better.
Just to wrap up a bit on MK1, because our last podcast, I really didn't have much time to play through it. In general, like I'm still really liking it. I really did enjoy story mode for the most part. I just thought it was fun. Like it wasn't, shitty or depressing, like in terms of story events so much, and just horrible jobber characters being like, you feel bad for them after a while in previous MK games.
Yeah.
Like the team of heroes get along and they're pleasant to each other.
Yeah.
Just, hey, Reptile, let's help you out.
Yeah.
That sucks for you, Baraka. Let's do it. And Baraka being like super cool hero, I got fucked over pretty hard. And he's good, and he helps out. Like I'm not used to that in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Baraka having a character blew my mind. I was like, what? My name's Baraka, and I have a family.
Baraka and Reptile have always been like my favorite Mortal Kombat characters, so I'm like the happiest person.
They got
in the
mega
world.
justice in this one.
Like they had to have known that, like, wow, we've really, these characters, we've abused them for far too long. But just like Johnny Cage and Kenshi's relationship, really liked Liu Kang. Like, I liked all the character stuff. The only thing in the story mode I didn't really care for is like the final boss is the most, no, that can't be it.
Yeah.
That's the most nothing thing ever. Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
And I just assume it's because of story DLC that'll happen further down the line.
Then they spent all that budget and marketing on all the weird shit that happens right before the final boss.
Yes, and that's such a great lead up. I love that stuff, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to fight Blaze or whoever or Mocap or something. And it's just like, no, this is the final boss. I'm like, are you? Oh, okay. And I still thought when the credits are rolling, no, there's going to be like secret fight initiate.
Yeah.
And when it doesn't, I was like, all right. That being said, I still prefer that to like, a lackluster story mode that just didn't, like I'd rather be a little disappointed with the final boss rather than be disappointed with the whole thing in general, which I was for like, let's say MKX's story mode, which is still like kind of the lower end of all of them. But yeah, just playing around the cameos more. I did a few online matches, and while I still think it's just like the cameo system, some elements, some of them I just can't get a handle with. Like, how do I use this character? And just the team synergy and everything is still a little bit to wrap my head around. Like, I still find the variant system in MKX just kind of, that made more sense to me in terms of calling on all my legacy skill or lack thereof on modern Mortal Kombat, but I still prefer it to MK11.
I think I'll shout out. I'll try to give some concise feelings, because what you're explaining makes sense to me when I was like starting to figure out cameo stuff in Mortal Kombat 1. A lot of people hover towards Serena. Why do people hover towards Serena super fast? Because she works. Like, the stuff that she does just functions the way you see it and expect it, and then it does it. There are several cameos in the game that are like that, where it's like, man, yeah, this cameo just does shit, and you obviously see what it does, and you're like, that's what it's good for. Like 80% the cameos and their moves in this game have weird, obtuse, funky things that you really got to figure out. And it's good for like maybe this one specific scenario. Like Motaro is like the perfect example of that. It's like, so this guy has these things, but how do you actually utilize it? Like, and then you get throw, cameo, weird madness. I think that's sort of like the detriment of the cameo system, is that in an assist-based fighting game, you should have at least one assist on that character that's obviously super good. That obviously you'll want to use this one. And some characters have that to a degree, but the majority of the cameo moves are like super nuanced, man. And you have to like, I'm gonna have to grind and figure out a really specific use for this, or just never use it, And is that much different from other assist games where you choose one assist out of 3? Not really, because usually the other 2 assists are balls. So, I mean, I sort of sympathize with NRS in this situation, but at the same time, I think cameo usability, just in general, there should be more ambush cameos, right? There should just be more characters that can use a cameo willy-nilly in this situation whenever they want to. And it's obvious the cameos that are really good are the ones that recover quick, that you can use fast and recover fast, and then are also ambush cameos, right? That just you can use at any point in your offense or even defense. I hope more stuff like that shows up.
To me, like, the most important thing in like attack fighter is, can the assists like play neutral with you? I think that's like the most interesting aspect. So like what Max is saying, like obviously Cyrax and stuff is like incredibly good, like obviously good. And as bad as this sounds, like I want more of that. I want more assists that like extend your pressure and, like cover your neutral options, and you have to play around that. I don't want, more cameos that just extend combos.
Exactly. That's the last thing I want.
That's the most boring thing you can do. So
it's funny you're saying this. This was shit that I was preaching like to the choir, trying to like scream before the game was out. Like, cameos, I hope, aren't just combo extenders, because we know that's going to be the case. We know combos are going to be longer. We want like make every cameo make us approach this match completely different, and not just be like, oh, you get 10% more because of this extension and stuff like that. No. Like, Give us more ambush shit. And if there is more ambush shit in general, which is the cameos you can use at any time, they don't have poses you have to make. If there was more stuff like that, then I think that it would open up what's possible in neutral way more.
Yeah, and its combo extension, like for cameos, seems almost like a tiny bit superfluous because the advancements in air combat already made the main roster have more combo potential than they had in MK11. So it's good that some characters obviously can do it, and it's fine. But yeah, like you guys are saying, it's like if future cameos or Tremor, for example, it's just like just more combo extensions. Like you're saying, it's gonna be boring.
Like I think a very super simple cameo that, at least to me as a fighting game player, is like infinitely interesting is Kung Lao's low hat toss.
Low hat toss. Yeah.
Obviously it's super strong. It's a low that comes out that's a projectile, but the fact that you can hold it adds so many layers to what offense can be. So I want more of that. And plus it's obviously super strong, but it's not an obvious combo extension tool.
No, you almost don't use it. Actually, if it hits, I think you lose the combo.
So I want more of that. Like, obviously, Cyrax is a little overbearing because he does everything right now. But, yeah, I'm just hoping for more interesting ways to be annoying and pressure.
To be real, if there's one thing that we don't need anything more of, is actually combo extensions in Mortal Kombat 11. People complain about combos in previous MK games. Buddy, the length of a combo in MK1 is twice the length of some of the longest combos of Mortal Kombat X, which historically had really long combos. It's crazy how long you're watching this shit if you don't have a breaker. And some combos go on for so long that you'll build enough for a breaker. Like, by the time it's over, you'll have breaker by the time it's finished.
With the main cast and the cameos, it just seems like, what we were saying about Street Fighter 6, it's like, just let everyone sit. Don't mess with the balance yet. But is this
I don't feel that way right now, no.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
this game needs some fixes, brother. Things need to happen.
We got to buff Reptile a million times and make everyone else worse. I do just speak one more thing about the cameos. I do want to shout out, I think Shujiko is probably just conceptually one of the greatest assists I've ever on paper have seen in a fighting game. And I'm just
he's
shocked
meme,
that
but he's hilariously cool.
I'm shocked that it's never done before, but just the idea, I don't know if it'll ever happen, but the idea of an Evo top 8 where someone picks Kenshi and the other player loses, they're down a match, and they're like, fuck it, I'm picking Shujinko. Now I have
the Ghost.
Yeah, now I have Ghost Dance, and that lopsiding a match completely is just amazing to me. I hope it happens.
I think we'd see a lot more Shujinko if he didn't have to be charged. If you didn't have to have an extra 2.5 layers of what I got to do outside of all the crazy knowledge check of what does this work with this? Every single cameo you get different shit. No, you also have to manually charge his old bitch ass.
They're definitely scared. They're definitely playing on the side of caution with how powerful this can be.
Do you know what they could do in the future potentially? Now this is experimental. It's what if a cameo can grow up to be a real boy? And then that cameo gets added to the main roster. It's the reverse of Sub-Zero and Scorpion.
What you're saying is that, man, I can't believe in the year of our Lord 2023/2024, Movado came back from a cameo, and then 2 months later, there's Movado merch at Hot Topic. There's a Movado, frappe at Starbucks because he's so popular, and then they eventually add him. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes.
Good. Good.
Mr. WinQuote, for those that are not familiar with you, where can they find your stuff that is all obscure fighting game shit? So it should be everyone's jam here that watches TKO.
Yes, I am GuileWinQuote on literally everything being YouTube and Twitter. That's it. I have some exciting things planned. I recently bought a $600 arcade board so I could make a video.
Which one?
Fighting Layer.
Oh shit! The old 2000 Fighting Layer?
Yeah, the one from Arika Namco.
Yeah.
The reason why I bought it is because Mihara-san at Arika is extremely against emulation. So I didn't want to make a video celebrating his game with emulation involved.
Wow.
So
also, I wanted the game because it's cool and expensive and rare, but
Yeah.
that's my justification in my head.
Is that running on like that old Namco like PS1 arcade hardware?
Yes, it runs on the same hardware. I don't know if it's the exact same revision, but similar to the arcade version of Tekken Tag.
Yeah, Tag 1 and Soul Calibur and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I've always been looking for an emulator that runs that stuff, and it's a funky one to find. It's out there. There's a way to emulate those old Namco PlayStation 1 era style games, but you got to like dig for it. I kind of want to show people. I'd love the comparison, even if you did it, GuileWinQuote, at some point in your videos, comparing the insanely superior console versions of some fighting games to the shitty ass arcade version.
Playing Tekken Tag 1 like through MAME was like, wait, what? Like it's just Tekken 3? Like what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like I was like, because in my head, you know, I saw Tekken Tag obviously mostly on the PS2, but even as a kid, I remember seeing in the arcades, and so like going back, I was like, I just thought it was the PS2 version the entire time. But no, it was not. It was not at all. So yeah, look forward to me spending a lot of money on games that hopefully more people will know about in the future.
And maybe in the future as well, we can do that merch video where we talk about all of us, Justin included, fighting game merch. Because I think between all three of us, we have shit. We have ammo to talk about. Max,
I think we have all of it. Actually, all of it. I think between all three of us, so I think we have Justin as well. We have all the fighting game merch that has ever existed.
Guinness Book of World Records, please look us up.